So today I want to show you. This is the New Testament. This is all the books in the New Testament. You got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, First Corinthians. You got all this 27 books written by 7 authors. It's important that you know that it's 27 books written by 7 authors. People call it the New Testament, as if it's a New Testament. But look at all this. Look at all these books and things that are in here. And we're gonna take a look at the truth versus the false in the New Testament. So pay attention or move along or watch something else. This is extremely important for those that wish to know the truth, and it's not important if you just want to remain stupid. So Mark and Luke are the number 1 and number 2 preferred texts in churches, in churchianity. Mark and Luke are not one of Jesus' handpicked disciples. Matthew and John are. Matthew and John are real disciples. Here is the book of Matthew, the first one. The book of John, the 4th one. Okay? So, if you want to read the whole New Testament, good luck. Because you're going to start okay, then you're going to go into this. The Mark, it's not even a gospel. It's a short letter. Okay? It's a short letter. Luke, he is not a disciple of Jesus. He's a disciple of Paul. Let me show you this. Okay, so Mark and Luke, and then you have Paul that wrote all this here, Acts, Romans, all of this, all the way down here. This entire space here is written by a guy named Paul, who was not an apostle. Let me highlight this for you, okay? Now we got what Jesus said himself to trustworthy people that he himself chose to be witnesses for him in red. Matthew, John, and the book of Revelation. It's the only 3 books where Jesus speaks. So well, let's put some more information here, okay? Jesus speaks here in Matthew. Jesus speaks here in John. And Jesus speaks here in the book of Revelation. Now here are the 3 places in the entire New Testament where the Master actually educates. Okay? So what is all the rest here? Okay? Mark, he's not an apostle. Okay, so I marked him as false apostle Mark, even though I haven't found anything special in his writings that is incorrect with Matthew and John. Okay, but I'm just pointing out he's not a real disciple. When it comes to Luke's writing, however, I find a lot of contradictions with what Luke says when I compare it to what John and Matthew says. For example, the thief on the cross that supposedly repented and went to paradise with Jesus is not backed up by Matthew and John. But it is one of the big lies that the church has been using to lure people to sign over all their worldly possessions to the church when they are on their deathbed to go to paradise. It is something that the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church has been doing for centuries. Okay? And it's based on this. The Christmas gospel is also from Luke. Just so you know that. The feel-good gospel is from Luke. And Luke was not a disciple of Jesus, but was the disciple of Paul. Okay? Now, Luke also wrote Acts. Okay? The book of Acts. Here you have all the false apostle Paul's critical letters. His critical letters to the Romans, to the Corinthians, to the Galatians, the Ephesians. if you read Ephesians here and you actually read what Paul says, and you read what Jesus says to the church in Ephesus in Revelation, you'll find out pretty quickly that even Jesus is against Paul. But the church loves Paul. In fact, the Catholic Church constructed this library and called it the New Testament. And why? Why they didn't just release a short version with Matthew, John, and Revelation? Well, I'll tell you, okay? You'll understand it. It is because if they would have done it like suggested by Matthew, John, and Revelation, they wouldn't have a church, okay? They need Luke and they need the false apostle Paul in order to create the doctrine which their church is built upon, to make it profitable, money-wise. Okay, so when you read the Bible again and you go to the second part of the Bible, the New Testament, make sure that you know what Jesus said and to whom he spoke, who wrote it down, who recorded it. So you don't become like every single Christian out there who read everything. And when it comes to Acts and when it comes to all the critical letters of Paul, which was considered by the first church to be an antichrist, when you get to here, you don't get fooled. So many people are fooled because they have no clue. So they just accept what is. So here you have what James and Peter and John additionally wrote. I put it in here as mixed doctrines and confusion. Mixed doctrines and confusion. And I'm saying that because these letters here were produced to answer some of the critics that came with the false apostle Paul's teachings. And you know, Peter, 2 Peter, he, you know, he's the guy that were denying Jesus, you know. He's the guy that cut the ear of the guard, you know, Peter. Peter is also the one that calls Paul a beloved brother, okay? So there is that. If you want to do everything the wrong way, you will easily do it the wrong way. But if you want to do it for once in your life the right way, Jesus speaks here, Jesus speaks here, and Jesus speaks here. Now Jude is an interesting little text by itself. It is quoting the book of Enoch. We don't need Jude for anything. We don't need 1st, 2nd, or 3rd John, or 1st and 2nd Peter, or James for anything. Like seriously, we don't need any of this for anything. This is just a lot of reading space that is designed to doctrinate you so that you become confused. It's like oil and water. What Jesus said is the oil. What Paul said is water. It doesn't mix, it doesn't go together. Now you can shake it and stir it as much as you want, but in the end they will separate, and you'll see that what Jesus says is one thing and what the false apostle Paul says is a complete other thing. Okay, so to make it simple, make sure that you know what Matthew, John, and Revelation says, because that's where Jesus speaks. When you know what Jesus said, it's so much easier to know what he didn't say. People will be quoting from the false apostle Paul as often as they can, and from other parts of the New Testament That's not what Jesus said. He spoke here, he spoke here, and he spoke here. So read what he said and don't be fooled into this maze of false doctrines. It sounds good. It sounds really, really good. But that's only because it's a stumbling block for you. That's why it sounds good. That's why it sounds easy. Because it's a stumbling block. What Jesus says is what matters. What he didn't say also matters. So it's important to know what Jesus said so that you can know what Jesus did not say, so that when people are quoting things to you that sounds good, you'll know that it ain't good because Jesus didn't speak that. Jesus didn't speak that, and he didn't meant that. It's not hard. He speaks in clear text in Revelation, in John and in Matthew. It's not hard at all to follow what Jesus teaches. But it is hard when you have all these false doctrines mixed in with the truth. Just look at all this reading space here. All these books here and letters just put in a huge bulk to delude you from the truth, so that you become a full-time Bible study scholar, theologist that have to agree with everything here. No, you don't. No, you don't have to agree with anything here. That's the beauty of it. Once you get what Jesus said, all these other things here becomes like air. It's just stupidity left. Now you become the smart one that read and do what Jesus says, and the other ones can be the dumb ones that read and do what Jesus says according to the false apostle Paul. Yeah, you see, when you read and do what Jesus says according to Apostle Paul, you'll start doing something completely different than if you read and do what Jesus said according to his own hand-picked, trustworthy disciples. You see, it's that easy and it's that difficult. So, until next time, I hope you check this out and also check out what Jesus said ministries.com. Of course, Matthew and John and Revelation, I put it there so that you can read what Jesus really said. Alright, thank you for watching. Comment, share this with as many as you think this is relevant for, and God bless you.